After my mom passed away, everything felt like it had changed because it had. She was the glue to our little family, the soft voice in a noisy world, the one who made birthdays magical and even the worst days feel warm. Watching her fade away from cancer had left a permanent scar on my heart. My dad, Robert, had been a strong man his whole life, a firefighter, a husband, a dad who showed up. But grief made him quieter. It softened his edges in a way I didn't recognize. I was 26, working as a freelance illustrator and living in a small studio apartment downtown. I had moved out a few years back, but after Mom's funeral, I started coming over almost every evening just to sit in silence with him. I guess we both needed each other more than we admitted. 3 months after the funeral, I was at his house, sitting on the back porch with a blanket draped around my legs. He came outside with 2 mugs of tea, something Mom used to do in the evenings. I thanked him softly and took the cup. That night, he stared out at the backyard before finally speaking. "Cassie," he said, "I've been thinking about something, and I want to ask you for a favor." His tone was serious but hesitant. I braced myself, expecting something like selling the house or maybe finally going to a grief counselor. But what came out of his mouth wasn't anything I could have expected. "There's someone I want you to meet," he said quietly. "Not for me. For you." Blinked. "Wait, what?" "A friend of mine from the station. His son just moved back to town after a divorce. He's a good guy. I think you two might get along." I stared at him. "You're trying to set me up." "Cass," he said with a small broken smile, "your mom and I used to talk about how hard you work. You give everything to your art, but you've closed yourself off. She wanted to see you happy. So do I." For a second I didn't know what to say. My mom had barely been gone a season, and now my dad wanted me to date? And yet something in his voice, his hope, his love, made me pause. "What's his name?" asked slowly. My dad's face lit up a little. "Eli. He's 30. Used to work in Denver. Moved back here for a fresh start." I hesitated. "You really think Mom would have wanted this?" "I know she would have." 2 weeks later, I stood outside a small coffee shop downtown, hugging my coat close to my chest. I was nervous. I hadn't dated seriously in years, and certainly not since Mom got sick. But I was here. For her. For him. And maybe a little for myself. Eli walked in 5 minutes after I did. He was tall, with dark brown hair and warm hazel eyes. He wore a dark green sweater and jeans, and when he spotted me, his expression shifted into something kind, something soft. "Cassie." "Eli." "Hey." We shook hands awkwardly, both of us laughing a little as we sat down. The first 10 minutes were clumsy. We talked about weather, the coffee, work. He was in real estate now, starting over after a tough divorce. I told him about my art, my projects, my mom. That's when things shifted. His face grew serious. "I'm really sorry about your mom. My mom passed 2 years ago. It changes everything, doesn't it?" "Yeah," I said and looked down at my coffee. "Everything." From there the walls started to come down. We talked for almost 2 hours. About grief, rebuilding, feeling like a stranger in your own skin. It didn't feel like a date. Felt like therapy and maybe something more. Something honest. As I left, he touched my arm and said, "If you ever want to do this again, I'd really like that." I told him I'd think about it. And I did. For days. Something about him lingered in my mind. His gentleness, his depth. His ability to just be there in the moment. I hadn't felt that in so long. So we met again. And again. Dinners turned into late-night walks. Coffee became picnics in the park. Slowly, I found myself smiling more, laughing at stupid jokes, drawing romantic sketches in my notebook. I hadn't drawn anything soft and dreamy since before Mom got sick. But Eli inspired it. One night, he invited me over to his place. It was quiet, warm, filled with books and plants and half-assembled furniture he'd been meaning to fix. We ordered Thai food and sat on the floor. He talked about his marriage, how he'd thought it would last forever. How betrayal had left him guarded but not broken. I told him about the last conversation I had with Mom. How she had squeezed my hand and whispered, "Don't stop living." He looked at me then with so much emotion that I couldn't breathe. "You haven't," he said softly. "You're just remembering how." That night I let him kiss me. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was slow and full of everything we didn't have to say. His hands in my hair, my fingers on his cheek. It felt like a promise. I stayed until sunrise, wrapped in his arms, watching the world glow through his bedroom window. For the first time in a long time I didn't feel broken. Felt beginning. Months passed. My dad noticed the change in me. He teased me gently whenever I came by the house with a spring in my step. One night I brought Eli to meet him. They shook hands, smiled, shared firefighter stories. Dad gave me a wink when Eli wasn't looking. "Told you," he whispered. Spring bloomed and with it love. One afternoon, Eli took me to a little spot near the lake where we'd gone on our second date. He brought a sketchbook I had left at his place, flipped to the page where I had drawn a picture of him holding my hand. He knelt down in the grass. "Cassie," he said, "I know we both came from pain. But this, what we've built, it's healing. It's home. Will you marry me?" I cried before I even answered. 'Cause yes, I would. Not because I was whole or healed or perfect, but because love doesn't wait for perfection. Just shows up and asks you to believe. We got married in the backyard of my dad's house under the tree where Mom used to hang fairy lights in the summer. I wore a simple dress with lace sleeves. Eli cried when he saw me. Dad walked me down the aisle. When he hugged me at the altar, he whispered, "She would be so proud of you." After the vows, after the dancing and the cake, I sat alone for a moment, watching the sun set. I whispered into the breeze, "Thank you, Mom, for everything." I kept living. And in that moment, with a man I loved, with a father who never stopped believing in me, I knew something beautiful. Grief and love could exist side by side. And when we allow ourselves to open again, even after everything, what we find can be breathtaking.